Okay, so the chazer from yesterday. Yeah. Oh, so one of the guys on the daf's having a relative is going through a little bit of a procedure. Out of privacy, I'm not saying who, but the Olam should have in mind however you could have in mind that, but that it should be a reshus shalem and its procedure should be successful.
Amen.
Yeah. So the chazer from yesterday. So yesterday was daf ayin, right? Yeah, that's all going through the entire sugya of why the Mishna keeps repeating that two people can't take reshus from others. And then if somebody forgets to be part of the eruv, that whole price of what do we say? The 7 different cases of different scenarios of 2 being mevatel to 1, 1 being mevatel to 1, 1 to 2, 2 to 1, all that, and why we need it. And then on Amud Beis, if somebody, and then tonight will be a continuation of it. If somebody inherits a property on Shabbos, can he now be mevatel the reshus? Right? Because the part of the shaila is maybe only somebody who had the ability to be part of the eruv on Friday and wasn't. So only he can be mevatel. But if a guy didn't even have the possibility of being part of eruv because he wasn't an owner of the property yet, because he didn't yet yashin it, so then he can't be. And then we said an eruv that's up for part of Shabbos stays up for Shabbos. Well, that's a little misleading. It's not an eruv. But if a lechi or a kaira is up Friday night, then it falls down, or Shabbos morning, and then it falls down, it maintains its kashrus for the rest of Shabbos. Right? And then we said a scenario where something is, if there's a doorway in between two properties and then it gets stuffed up, so they could still make their eruv, even though the eruv is no longer in existence. Okay, so then that brings us to the bottom of Ayin Amud Beis, and we're continuing with this whole sugya of people forgetting to be mevatel reshus, and specifically Yerusha. So Ayin Amud Beis, so Toshima. So Yisrael v'ger. Yeah, you have a Yisrael and a ger. Yeah, shruyin b'megura achas. Who they're living in a I don't know why the Gemara chooses to use a lashon of megura. Right? I mean, it's in the same chatzer, right? Right? It's 2 people that are living in a chatzer. Right? But here it uses a lashon of megura achas. And Rabban, this is for you. I just thought of this second. It's a ger, and then the Gemara chooses to use megura. Right? So I don't know. It's interesting that the Gemara chose that lashon. Anyways, so you have a Yisrael and a ger.
And it depends if it became a ger or chosid.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. So anyways, so Tashma. So Yisrael and ger shruyin b'megura achas. They're living in one megura with each other. Umeis ger mi ba'ayim, and the ger died when it was still Friday. Now we all know that a ger, when he dies, has no yarshim. Right? Oh, that just reminded me, fascinating. One of the, I give this beginner about tshuva shir. So a guy asked me, he said, I'm not so sure if this guy's a ger or not. I can't keep track. But he said, so a ger, right? He says to me, Rabbi, he says, isn't the halacha that if a ger guy becomes a ger, so his kids are no longer his kids, right? Okay, so that's true. He said, okay, so now if that's the case, so then what was his shaila now? So then, if he has kids afterwards, I think that was his shaila. Can a brother marry a sister? Meaning he has a child before he was Jewish. What do you say, Simon? Right? He has a brother, he has a kid before he's Jewish, and he has a kid after the Jewish.
I only had kids after I was Jewish. Don't worry.
No, I didn't say you. I said, what's your opinion on the matter? I said, yeah, can a brother now marry a sister? He says, don't worry, it's not halacha l'maisa, he tells me. It's not halacha l'maisa, but he's curious.
If I remember hearing right, that there's still such a concept of like a blood relation versus the halachic relation. That's
That's what I thought. I can't
I
remember.
think
Though.
sometimes isn't that one of the cases where you say if it can't be mutter for a yid because if it's also for a guy, how can it be mutter for a yid?
Well, Mika Midi?
Yeah, I think
I don't
so.
know.
What about Ever Menachai?
That's
When it's
what a big
jumping.
shaila. You must be a
When it's
Talmud Rebbe
jumping.
Yeager with that
Yeah,
one.
he says it. He says it once a year at
right.
least. He says it once a year. I forgot what parsha.
What about Eva Menachai? What about it?
Rabbi Yeager's famous vort that
I want to see if he
when you
remembers it.
okay,
Oh, listen, at
when
least
you
he
shech the
remembers this
chicken,
much.
when you shech the chicken, the jumping
No, when
that's
you
not
shech the
considered
behema, when you shech the
okay. Fine, the
The
behemoth, the
mefacheses,
jumping, right? The
when it's
mecheses, the
jumping around.
jumping. That's
Yeah.
that's called Ever Menachai by a
And the
guy.
beat-
By a yid, it's not called Ever Menachai because it's not life. Life is what is it called? Chitchus, what's the word? Chedusha. To be mchadesh. And if it's only living because it was alive a few minutes ago, that's not considered life. That's his
That's a real
famous vart.
Hasidic Torah right there. I love that.
That's Rabbi Yeager's. I think it's Parshas Noach. He says it. No.
I don't know. Okay, not bad, Naftali.
No,
Not
so
bad.
so I vaguely remember.
Aaron, did I miss anything?
No, it's very good. But he said if there's a
Okay.
piece that falls off. He said when I remember, he used to talk about that piece that falls off after
Right.
the street before.
Yeah.
Baron, where's
familiar.
your face?
I don't know what happened. I don't know. The whole day it's like this.
You probably have the camera off on the bottom.
The whole day you've
See,
been
the
on
Olam,
Zoom?
the Olam just misses seeing you. Mama.
Yeah,
The whole
it's
day-
not.
Ain't
It's
that
The whole
right?
day you've been
not
on
the
Zoom?
same. It's
I
not
miss
the
seeing. I
same
miss
hearing
seeing
the
his
voice.
hands. I miss
Hey,
seeing his
no
hands.
face the whole day?
Where's the camera? I don't know where the camera is.
They want to know what you're wearing to sleep tonight.
That's.
That's
I
really
gotta
what-
see what jersey he has on. Dodgers or the other one.
The Mets.
So I'm
In-
wearing the grandfather's shirt.
Inquiring minds want to know, Aaron.
Yeah.
I guess you got a paparazzi after you, just like Satmar Rebbe.
So here, so Yaakov.
Yeah. So what are you saying?
Back to Gemara quickly.
Right.
So theoretically, if that's the case, and Admeva Esther, my son theoretically wouldn't. I mean, my kids wouldn't get Yerusha. I mean, Al Talach. I mean,
What are you talking about?
or is it kids after? It's a kids you had before you were a ger?
No, kids before.
Oh, okay.
No, the guy's asking that if he has a kid, he's a ger. I don't know if he has a kid or not.
No. I'm
He's a
saying,
ger.
I'm saying from the Gemara. I'm not talking.
No. We're talking about a ger whose kids, he doesn't have anybody to yarshin unless he had a kid after he became a ger, of course.
Oh, fine.
Right? No, so right. No, it's only if he didn't have anybody to yarshin him. Right?
What about do adopted kids don't yarshin?
No, adopted kids don't yarshin.
But Ramesha speaks about yichud with regards to adopted kids.
Yes, that's a big hot.
So I was
There's
going
yichud
to
and
say, is it a similar idea?
I don't know what they also adopted kids sit shiva, though it's not really clear why that is. Not really clear why that is. Right?
It's like
But-
not just adopted kids, even stepchildren also.
What?
Right. I thought in
Shiva.
general,
It's
we're
like a 3-day
flexible on
Shiva or
Shiva.
something,
I don't know. Whatever. I don't know. All the comparisons are necessarily all similar.
Is it a
Right.
chiyuv by step, or is it just like you're allowed to?
No, I think it's not a chiyuv. It's not a chiyuv. As far as I remember, it's not a chiyuv.
Same thing for kids born before the father became a ger. Don't have to sit shiva.
Kids born. What do you mean? If the father becomes a ger and the kids become gerim, is that what you're asking?
No, let's say the mother was Jewish, but only the father wasn't. And then
Kids go after the mother.
right, so they're Jewish, but they don't have.
No, if their father's a guy, they don't sit shiva for him.
But then he becomes Jewish, right? And then maybe there's other kids.
So then
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah,
It's
right.
not
So
true.
that's
Family.
Aaron, it's not true, by the way. A ger with a non-Jewish parent or two non-Jewish parents, there is a halacha that you sit for like a day or an X amount of time, that even though, and this goes back to like if you could theoretically marry or whatever your sister prior to the fact, that you still have a relation to those parents.
Right. So the question is that a halachic relationship or exactly what that relationship is?
I vaguely remember the Rosh Hashiva telling me that that it's a halacha, but it was like 15 years ago when I was doing that soul searching thing. So I don't
I
really.
guess you're done.
Jack,
You're done with that now. You're done with the soul searching.
Yeah, it's black
Is
like
this-
my
Did,
yarmulke. You know?
did,
Is this-
did you
is
answer
this
that? I don't know who
possibly
asked
the
that
first
other
Mishnah in
question, but
Yeah. Go ahead. What are you saying, Leo?
I don't know. No, I don't know who it was. Someone asked the question. I don't know if you answered, but I'm curious what the answer was. If the father converts, I don't know who that was, but if the father converts after, if it's considered a father.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember. I know there's halachas about it. I don't remember. This fellow just asked me this thing about the daughter, one child marrying the other another child. That was one that's stuck in my head, but I didn't have time to look into it.
Yeah, but what's the Gemara's shaykhis? Why is the
Yeah.
Gemara comparing a person that's? I mean, Taisha speaks about this, but I really don't understand.
Right,
Why
exactly.
Why is the
talks
Gemara
about-
comparing this to a real Yarish, where the Gemara uses a lashon kar davua to a ger? What's the comparison?
Right, so it's
One had
really,
a shaykhis to be Yarish before this person died, and this person only was kind of not because he was Yarish, because he was kind of a half ger item. What does Yerusha have to do with this?
right. So it's really unclear why the Gemara is even getting involved with the ger
I mean,
here.
Taisus Bavarn's the question, but then he like just
Correct.
leaves it. It's like it's not a big deal.
Yeah. Well, he's saying otherwise it wouldn't be a kasha on.
Right, it wouldn't be a kasha. The tashma is not a
Right.
tashma.
Enochanami,
Why did the
enochanami,
Gemara
yeah.
get that as a terror? It's very
Yeah,
straightforward chilik.
it is, and the kasha gets even stronger halfway down Amud Aleph. You'll see. But that basically what Akiva's asking, that's what the bottom Taisus, that one line Taisus is asking, is like, why are we getting involved with the ger here? It would be the same, essentially the same scenario with anybody, right? If somebody dies and somebody's yoyrishim on Shabbos or before Shabbos, right? Same scenario that we've been discussing, right? Can he be part of the eruv? Can he not be part of the eruv?
I didn't know.
Maybe it's a cheat because everybody, all five of those other guys could have yarshin him. It just was the luck of the draw that this guy got it. Maybe.
The Gemara
hear.
gives a chilik. The Gemara says before that a Yerush, you could say it would work because of Kari Davua. That's what Rav Nachman says. Somebody who's a ger, you're not connected to him in any way, shape, or form before it became, before the person
That's
died.
what I said. Yeah, that's what I just said.
That's exactly why you use this as a case, because it's so extreme. So if this case
Right,
it
but-
works, then
but
it's going to work for
That's
everything
and
else.
it's not right, but the Gemara is asking the exact opposite. The Gemara is asking Rav Nachman, who holds that of Kari Davua. The Gemara is saying from this case we should see the same. Why doesn't it work in the same way in this case? And that's not true. This is a case where the person is less connected to the person who died than the case of a real Yerush.
Right.
It's very simple chilik.
Can I ask a different question though? I thought there was a halacha that you can't be makane on Shabbos, and now we're talking about being makane, certain things on Shabbos to you give up your reshus and all these different things. I don't understand the meta on this.
Very good. You're Sami mechavan to the Gemara. The Gemara is going to discuss it in a few lines. Halfway down Amud Aleph, the Gemara is going to discuss it. Very good. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, so Toshima.
Simon, let's say a guy becomes a ger before the show, and then after the show he becomes an apikaris. Is he still a yid who's an apikaris, or he goes back to being a guy? But I don't answer.
No, but that he would go to Shayashiv in the 60s. He would have gone to Shayashiv in the 60s, and then done his thing. He would have the Rebbe said this, and that's it.
Okay, let's go. So Toshima, yeah, Yisrael v'ger shriim b'megura achas. Right, if a ger, Yisrael and a ger are living in one chatzer. Umeis ger mi ba'odim. The ger died on a Friday afternoon. Afal pisha yichzik Yisrael achar b'nechasav. So of course there was the yid that jumped and took all the ger's belongings. Right, Iser, then it's still Aser. Mishachashecha. But if he took all the ger's things from when it got dark, now why is it Aser? Before that, I'm sorry. Even though he's machzik the Yisrael on Friday afternoon, it's Aser because he wasn't part of the eruv, right? The Gemara is going to ask later, well, why can't he just be mevatel his reshus and everything is fine? That's going to be the Gemara's kasha after. But right now, if he's not mevatel the reshus, it's Aser. Mishachashecha. But if he takes possession of the ger's property once it gets dark, even if nobody takes the property, then it's ain't usher. It's not going to be usher, which the Gemara is going to ask on that too. Well, why should it be usher? It's one person lives in the reshus. Okay, so then the Gemara asks, Hagufa kasha. Before you get involved with kashas based on this brisa, but the brisa itself is a kasha. You said that if the guy takes possession of the ger's property when it was still Friday, even though you took it and it's still going to be usher. And of course, it goes without saying that if the guy didn't take possession of the property, then it's not going to be. Then it's the eruv is going to be no good. If he didn't take it, then it shouldn't be usher. Why not? Why should it be usher? Again, we're assuming there's two people living in this property, right? A Yisrael and a ger. The ger dies on Friday afternoon. Nobody takes possession of his property, right? So how many people live in this chutzah on Shabbos? One. So what's the problem? One person doesn't need an eruv. Every person doesn't need to make an eruv with themselves, right? If the guy took possession of it and then didn't make an eruv, okay, that's one thing. But here the guy, nobody took possession. So why should the eruv be? Why should it be a problem? No, so saying the brisa, even though it was not machzik, right? Yeah, I mean, even though nobody took it, it's still a problem. So the Gemara says, it says even though you were machzik. See, I talk about an apikairis, Simon, right? I'm saying sometimes the Gemara changes the lashon of the brisa, and the Gemara says, okay, fine, change the lashon of the brisa. And sometimes the Gemara says, no, it doesn't say that. So here the Gemara happens to say it doesn't say that, right? Many times we've had where we say, okay, change the brisa. Here we're not changing the brisa. The Gemara says, it says afal pisha hichzik. You want to say it should say afal pisha lo hichzik, but it doesn't say that. It says afal pisha hichzik. So this is what the brisa is saying. Afal pisha lo hichzik b'bayit yoim ela mishachshecha. Even though he didn't take possession of the ger's property on Friday, he only took it when it gets dark. Even the havalei lahachsav b'bayit yoim. Also, since he could have or should have taken it miba'id yom, it's going to be usher because he should have taken it miba'id yom and then made himself an error, but he didn't do that. So since he didn't do that, it's usher. Now the Gemara continues. If it's after it got dark, why
is it usher? Why is it usher in that case? Nobody was. It wasn't a hutter already miba'id yom.
Oh, so the Gemara is going to ask it in a couple of lines. Very good. When it gets dark. But if the ger dies once it became dark, it was already Friday night, then even if Yisrael doesn't take it, it's not going to be usher. Even though the Yisrael doesn't take it, and it goes without saying, if he's machzik, it should be the opposite. When he does take possession of it on a Friday night, he's going to make it usher because he didn't make an eruv. So change it. Say it even though he did take possession. But the Gemara answers, it says even though he wasn't masik. So this is what the brisa says. Even though somebody took the ger's property, once it got dark, even since he didn't have the ability to take it on Friday, it's not usher. Fine, that's the back and forth. Now what does the Gemara want with this whole brisa? So Katani Miyas, Resha, we learned in the Resha, Oyser, that he makes it Osir. Amai Oyser, why is it Osir? Mevatel. Why doesn't he just be mevatel it? Right? Why can't it just be mevatel it? So my Oyser, meaning, so therefore what? So what do you see? What does the Gemara think at least? That you see that somebody who took possession of a property on Shabbos can't be mevatel. So the Gemara answers, no, my Oyser the Katani, Achi Yevatel. When it says Oyser, it means it's Osir, but until he's mevatel it, but he does have the ability to be mevatel it. Rabbi Yochanan Amar Masnisim Mani Beis Shamai. Our Mishna is Beis Shamai. The Amri Ein bitul reshus b'Shabbos. Simon, this is exactly what you wanted to say, right? That there's Ein bitul reshus on Shabbos. It's going according to Beis Shamai. Holds you're not allowed to be mevatel reshus on Shabbos. The Tran, when do you give reshus? Beis Shamai says you have to give it when it's still day. Hillel said you could even give the reshus when it gets dark. So Amar Ula, my time at the Beis Hillel. Why does Beis Hillel say you're allowed to give over the reshus on Shabbos? It's as if the person who said, "Go to the you should have gone to the nicer fruits." So we need a little bit of background here. Rashi goes through. In case of Bava Metzia, let's say I decide to be a nice guy and give truma on behalf of my friend. Now, truma you can give from the nicer fruits, the medium fruits, the bad fruits. So I go to my friend and say, by the way, I gave truma from your fruits. So I tell the friend, well, I have options. I could say, who gave you permission to do that? That's one option. Or the other option is you could have said, or you said to the guy, hey, you should have taken the nicer fruits. You're giving fruit to the kahanim. Why don't you take from the nicer fruits? Which clearly means that you're in agreement with the guy that he took the truma, right? The guy had separated for you. So he took the truma for you. So you're clearly very happy with it. So same thing by eruv. If you see a guy's mevatel reshus on Shabbos, Beis Hillel saying must be he clearly was very happy with being part of your eruv. So basically we're saying that it just reveals that the guy really did have in mind to be part of your eruv. That's Beis Hillel's opinion. Amar Abaya.
It's amazing that you just can't say thank you. Like there has to be a complaint, right?
Okay, yeah.
And the type of complaint is how we decide whether or not he's happy with the truma that he.
Correct. That's in the old days. That's in the old days when people, was not today's generation. Everybody has to be mechazik. Everybody, thank you, compliments. In the old days, it was very much hardcore. You know what I mean? What do you bring to the table?
Yeah, but couldn't that mean that he wasn't complicit in this whole concept?
I was just going to ask. Maybe he's not happy that you gave that because he
Right.
wanted you to give better. So
Maybe,
but at least he's
maybe
happy.
he's about taiba. Maybe he's about taiba and he's like or about gaiba, and he goes, "I would have given something better. What are you doing?
Right.
Why would you have done that?"
Pasnish for me to give truma like that.
Okay, I hear your point. You're saying that's.
I guess we'll have to wait till Bava Metzia to find out.
Yeah, I give you a bracha. You should remember this, or me too. All right. I hear. I don't know. I hear what you're saying. He's saying, but at least at the minimum, he was happy to give truma. Meaning, how do you know he maybe didn't want to give truma from those fruits at all? Maybe he wanted to give fruits from a different field. So this is like you should have gone to the better one. Okay, I don't know. I'm not sure. I hear your question. Amar Abaya.
Why doesn't it? He brings a footnote here that told him to do it for him. He told him to take truma for him, just didn't tell him from what type of food.
In the
it's Tyler Michel Chaver Shamai Midas. He took the truma.
Yeah, no, Rashi doesn't say that.
What?
Rashi says the way he explained it, that he saw his friend, he said, you should have taken, but he didn't give him reshus beforehand.
He says here, Rashi is explained by Tosfos.
That what? What does it say? What are you talking about?
The owner appointed this person as his agent to separate his truma. However, he did not specify which grain should be used to become truma.
That's how Tosfos explains Rashi. That's not how Rashi learns it.
Right.
Tosfos learns it differently.
Well, Tos is really disagreeing, right?
Correct. He's learning it differently. Tosfos is saying that it can't be without the guy's das. This is saying it has to be that the guy appointed him. He just didn't tell him what to take.
Well, I don't know. It's saying the way Tosfos really quotes Rashi. He's saying, "Command the shav yishliach litramaniyavas the mishu the nimtza yafas mehen." Dami the kivan the nimtza yafas mehen. It's as if he made him a shliach, but I think even Tosfos would agree. How does the art school say it? David, how does the art school say it?
Meaning it's comparing it to a case of someone who did it without his knowledge. It says the owner appointed this person as his agent to separate his truma. However, he did not specify which grain should be used to become truma.
That's interesting because I think even the Tosfos, it sounds like. But didn't you say the first sentence is that he? What was the first sentence?
The owner appointed this person as his agent to separate.
Didn't you say something before that?
That art scroll is politically correct. Rashi didn't say that.
What was? Didn't you say that the guy didn't appoint him? Didn't say that?
No.
All right, I don't know. Okay, I'm not sure. I don't know exactly. Okay, I don't know. I hear the Rashi clearly.
Rashi says Shilai Midas.
Right. So I think Tysus is understanding it that way too, but I think Tysus is saying that Limafreya, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Whatever it is, but that it's something along those lines.
It's probably like an anon sadi to make him a shliach. I'm saying the idea a person has to be term truma. So it's not a shiloh whether he's going to be term truma. The question is where is he going to be term truma because that's where the leeway is. So Gemara. So the din is that you could say kalchis yafas almost like yesh breiro.
Don't be termed truma if a guy who walks around with a shotgun if he didn't ask you to do it. You know what I mean?
That would be.
The din is you have to be termed truma. It's not like you can avoid it.
It's none of your business when I.
No, but a person wants something done with his.
The only question when you're termed truma is where you are going to be termed truma. The only question. Okay.
Good, so I have to daven mincha too. So tie me up and hold me on the floor in the basement because I've got to daven mincha. What does it have to do with anything?
Not so sure that's comparable, but okay.
That's not comparable. That's not even okay. Fine. Bring in a case that doesn't do with this.
If I have to give two more, what does it have to do with you? Stay in your own house. What are you?
And a hanami, but you could be the college to the office is the shaila isn't whether you could be a shliach. The shaila is can I be a shliach to take the office one?
You're not a shliach for me.
Well, Rashi disagrees with you.
Rashi doesn't say he's a shliach. No,
Rashi says command the shadi shliach meikar.
Rashi says shalom midas. That means he wasn't the shliach.
I see you didn't read the next line of Rashi.
He wasn't appointed a shaliach, but
Rashi says we look at it as if he was made a shliach.
Correct.
Rashi says it's as if he made a shliach. I can cut out half of Rashi. It's not a big deal. We can just read the first part to make it work.
Listen to what you said. It's as if he made him a shliach. He never made him a shliach.
Right, but there's many times.
The shaila Rashi has if it's a good Torah or not. He never made him a shliach. Don't say he made it.
Rashi did not have a shaila.
No,
the Gemara says it does work. What does that mean? Rashi says it does work. How does it work if you didn't make him a shliach?
I'm not arguing with the Gemara. That does, but it doesn't.
I think you're arguing with Rashi.
No,
the way the article.
I'll tell you when I argue with Rashi. I'm not arguing with Rashi.
Well, then we'll just cut out the words when Rashi says "command the Shabbos shliach," dummy.
Come on,
you have the other side.
Come on means it works. Yeah, I know. What can we do?
Right. Yeah, very good.
He was giving me a break tonight.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know what you mean by that. Command still means that he made him a shliach. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
No, but that's how we look at it in the end. I don't think you're really arguing, brother. I think you're really saying.
I am arguing because we're it's an anan sadi. That's what we're doing here. It happens. There are many places in Shas where there's an anan sadi about making.
Is it really
an
anan sadi?
To some degree, when he's
happy with it, if he's happy with it at the end of the day, then it has to be.
But the reason that we know, the point is that the reason why we know that he's happy with it is because he told the guy, right?
It's still,
besides the sign.
How do we look at his Maisa Truma to begin with, as if we don't see him as a shliach?
Correct. Right. He becomes a shaliach for him because he's happy with what he did. That's how it. Mechanically, that's how it has to work.
Correct. I guess whatever it is. Okay, you're right. It's really a sugi for Bava Metzia, but let's hold the thought till Bava Metzia, right? It's only a couple of years. That's Hashem, right? Anyways, so then Amar Abaya Meis Nochri b'Shabbos. If a guy dies on Shabbos, right? So my klach etzel yavas, what kind of klach etzel yavas do you have there, right? Meaning the guy was alive at the beginning of Shabbos. Right? So then how can you have a klach etzel yavas there? So that doesn't make sense if that's the Machlokes. This is what the Machlokes is. The Shamai savri bitul reshus. This is very important, by the way, for Hilchos Shabbos now. The Shamai savri bitul reshus makne reshusahu umakne reshusa b'Shabbos also. When you're being mevatel your reshus, when one guy forgets to be part of the eruv, and he's mevatel his reshus, right? He is being makne reshus, and being makne something to somebody on Shabbos is also. We'll get to that, to Rashi in a minute. It's a very important Rashi here. It's not giving over somebody else your reshus. Your istaluke from the word siluk to salka, to remove yourself. You're removing yourself from your reshus. Istaluke reshus b'Shabbos Shabbat. You're removing from your reshus on Shabbos is allowed. Meaning, according to Beis Shamai, when you're being mevatel your reshus on Shabbos, you are essentially giving as a present to everybody else that's living with you in the yard your property. According to Beis Hillel, you're not giving anybody anything. You're just removing your rights from the property, right? So it's a very it's a lumdisha thing. But
it doesn't make sense because if you're removing your rights, you can't benefit from it.
He's not benefiting from it. Everybody else.
Sure, he is. If he's staying in his house, and he just goes, Shabbos, I forgot to make an eruv, and I'm walking away from it. But I'm still going to sleep in the house, and I'm still going to use the eruv, etc., etc. Welcome back, Rebbe. It's nice to see you after that shining face. Then, if you just walk away.
Oh, he found out how to do it. Okay, good.
Yeah. I asked him to show the video.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, but you hear what I'm saying, right? Like you can't just go, well, I walk away, I relinquish my rights to my property and to the chatzer and all that stuff, and then still use it on Shabbos as if it's yours, as if nothing happened. Yeah, you hit that loophole, you found the loophole, you hopped it, but it still sounds very, very shvach.
But that's the way but that's the way he looks. He's just looking like as long as you who are causing problems to the eruv because you weren't part of the eruv, then as long as you remove yourself from this property, that's enough. We don't need you to give it over to everybody else.
But you're not removing yourself.
Isn't it like he's making it hefker?
He's making it hefker.
And then the people in the chatzer take it over and not giving it anyone present? Is it?
Sort of, yeah.
Well, it's like Beis Hillel. He's not giving anyone a present. He's making himself hefker, making it hefker.
Oh, right. According to Beis Shamai, he's giving According to Beis Shamai, he's giving a present. According to Beis Hillel, he's not.
But that's not my problem, Naftali. My problem is that even though he does make it hefker or he gives it as a gift, depending on who you hold, like he's still benefiting from it. He's still staying in the house. He's still using the chatzer. He's still using all the stuff. He just basically said, "This Shabbos, it's not mine." Like at what point that's irresponsible.
Well, he can't take it out to the chatzer if he's mevatel it. You know what I'm saying? Like
he can't take things out to the chatzer.
He can only use it in the house itself.
Right? He can't. Everybody else can.
Oh, then whatever.
But still,
I said.
It's a little weird.
No,
he's mevatel everything.
Simon,
it's so weird.
Saying is correct, right?
He's mevatel everything as long as it's in his house. I mean, as long as it's not in his house.
Yeah, that's a good point. Right? It's not. He can't. He himself can't. They can. But,
then I made a mistake then.
No, you didn't make a mistake. No, it's very good. No, you clarified.
It's a question on Beis Shamai. That's a question on Beis Shamai. Because if he gives it as a present,
do it. Beis Shamai says you can't do it on Shabbos. Finished. If you don't take care of this thing before Shabbos, according to Beis Shamai, you're done.
Right, because Beis Shamai
because you can't give a present.
It's like,
correct.
No, he says like
I have a different reason he can't give it.
Like business dealing.
I have a different reason he can't give it.
Yes, because of business. We'll get to that in a minute. Yeah, why?
Because then he would if you give it as a present, then it's everyone else's. I can go to your house and take stuff out. I'm gonna come to your house. I can use your chatzer, your eruv.
You can.
Right on here,
but that we already discussed. That's because you're a guest. I don't know. Did we discuss it? We're gonna discuss that. Naftali, we're gonna discuss that in the next Mishna.
The Gemara touched on it before.
Right, but it's more going to be later in the next Mishnah. But a very important Rashi here is why can't you be makna something to anybody on Shabbos? The last Rashi before the Mishnah says umikna reshus b'Shabbos asur the dummy lemeka chomer. Why can't I come to your house? It is a common shaila. That's why I'm bringing it up. I'm going to somebody's house for Shabbos. Can I give him a present on Shabbos? What's wrong? What's wrong with giving a present on Shabbos?
I thought if they use it on Shabbos, then it's not.
Oh, very good, Mike. But let's take the step before that. What should be even wrong with giving a present on Shabbos? So Rashi here says, "The dami lemeka chumemka."
Why is meka matana? Matana is not meka.
So that's what Rashi is saying. It's similar to doing business. Since it's similar to doing business, therefore we don't allow presents on Shabbos. However, the poskim say
it's very similar to business these days.
Well, it could be giving a present is business. Yes, that's true.
So let's say somebody invites you for a meal. You're bringing them something like a gift or whatever, like as a thank you. That's
but even so, if it's even so, or giving a bar mitzvah boy a present on Shabbos.
But that's why I'm saying it's like mekach umemkar because somebody's.
What happened to our Mishna Shabbos Geret Heter?
That doesn't work for a present, parents. But there is a scam around.
Only for selling the car.
Right, but they're like this. But the poskim do say l'tzairich mitzvah, it's allowed. L'tzairich mitzvah, it's allowed. You're allowed to give a present. Haraya.
So the aliyahs.
Exactly. You sell the aliyahs, you sell the this, you make appeals for a tzarech mitzvah, we allow it.
And
Right?
if you
Even though
use that
appeals
present-
That's a real
maybe-
Kenyan? An aliyah
What?
selling an aliyah is a real Kenyan?
No, but it's talking business. Yeah, but so the point is, what do you call a tzarech mitzvah? So that's why a lot of places can say, if you bring the bottle of wine to the people that hosting you for Shabbos, and you say this wine is for Shabbos today, to open it up, so that's a mitzvah, because it's a mitzvah finding Shabbos to have the bottle of wine, to have the candies, to have the chocolate. So therefore, if it's a tzarech for Shabbos, then it's no problem. So you can theoretically give a bar mitzvah boy, you want to give him the yad. In the old days, they gave a yad to the bar mitzvah boy, the laning. You want to give him a present Shabbos morning before the laning, give him a yad. Okay, so then it's a tzarech mitzvah.
But you can't give him a minchas chinuch that he's going to use 7 years later.
Correct. If you're lucky, even if you're lucky, correct. That's exactly right. So then
Now,
what
what
the
happens?
Yeah.
What happens if you bring them a bottle of wine or a thing for dessert and they don't use it?
Right. So that's, as long
Don't
as you
they
give
have
them
to open it?
Then
right.
take
So
it
I
back
would
home.
think that as long
Take
as
it
it's
back
a
home.
tzarech, as long as it's tzarech, meaning that there's a potential to have it, then I would think that's enough.
Is that like harama?
Might be. Well, how about this harama? What they tell you to do is, if you're giving a present to somebody on Shabbos, so you say, here it is, but it's not becoming yours till after Shabbos. It's still mine. You could take it home. It's mine until after Shabbos. That's some
pretty
say
weak because you just brought it into their chutzner. It's theirs already.
Correct, but you're saying I'm not being makneh to you until after Shabbos. Okay, that's what some places can say to do.
I guess you can't be upset if they do take it home then.
Correct.
Or Yaakov, to make it right for one of your shalos on your watch, one of them keeps the first man and one of them keeps Rabbeinu Tam's man. So now what do you do? Okay, just
Very good.
wanted to get it onto your watch. That's
Okay.
Jesse, if you bring a bottle of wine somewhere and they don't use it, just take it home. They obviously don't want it.
What if
And
you
you
want to
go.
go back at some point?
Yeah, but then it's still not it's good. That's a question whether it's a tzarech mitzvah or not. Okay. Anyways, up the Mishna. Yeah, next Mishna.
Michael, we can't hear you, Michael.
Who?
I said they can keep it till the next time you're invited back.
Oh, yeah. Anyways,
Or they could re-gift it.
Depends how bad a bottle it is. You may not be invited back. That's the problem. Okay. Anyways, so up the Mishnah. Balabayis shall shituf l'shchenav. Right? So you have a balabayis who's a partner with his neighbors. That's already a recipe for disaster. But okay, a guy, and not only does he live in the same yard as them, he's also their partner. Right? So lezeh b'yayin or lezeh b'yayin. So he's got a partnership with each one, in a barrel of wine. They go in and they make an investment, right? He's got the neighbor on the right side of him he's got a bottle of wine. He owns a partnership with him, and the neighbor on the left side. Ein tzrichen la'arev. Then do they need to make an additional eruv? Right? The whole thing we're making. First of all, this is not talking about chatzeros. This is talking about mavuos, shituf mavuos. But what's the whole point? Everybody puts food in the pile together, so they already own a partnership in barrels of wine. So why should they need to make an additional eruv? So that's what the Tanna Kama says. Again, they're partners. He has two different partners, each one in their own barrel of wine. They don't need to make another eruv. But let's say he has a partnership, one with wine, one with oil, lezeh b'yayin or lezeh b'shemen, then tzrichen la'arev, then they do need to make an eruv, because it's two different things, right? It's not one big shutfus of all three. You can't, meaning if it's everybody owns wine, so that's fine. But if one is wine, one is oil, then it doesn't work. Both of them don't need an eruv, right? Okay, we'll see on Amud Beis why that is. So Zok Gemara, Amar Rav b'kli echad. Rav says it has to be in one kli, which we already had this a bunch of blot ago. If the eruv is in two different kalim, then that doesn't work. So it has to be in the same kli. So Amar Rava, take a nami. We can be medayik this from the Mishnah. The Ketani lezeh b'yayin v'lezeh b'shemen tzrichen la'arev. It says if one with wine, one with oil, then they do need to make an eruv. Iyamar b'shem reisha b'kli echad v'seva b'shnei kalim shaper. So if you say that the reshus is talking about one kli and the sefer is talking about two kalim, which I would imagine you're not storing your oil and your wine in the same kli, right? Then it works. But if you say the reshus is talking about two kalim, and the sefer is talking about two kalim, Mali yayin v'yayin, mali yayin v'shem. What's the difference if you're partners in wine or partners in wine or partners in wine and oil? So it must be that the first case in the Mishnah is talking about one kli. So Amalei Abaye, yayin v'yayin roi la'arav, yayin v'shemen ein roi la'arav. No, Abaye says no, not necessarily, because wine you could mix together with wine. Shemen you can't mix together with wine, right? So that's why there's a difference. Okay, Shimon Omer echad zeh v'echad zeh. So 1 second. The Taisus has an important point. The third Taisus up from the bottom. Yayin v'shemen ein roi la'arav. Afagav the kol ha'ochlim would start from the Muslim Beis sudas le'eruv, who did mashkin. We know that not everybody has to give the same food, right? Let's say we're making an eruv, right? So I decide I want to give bread, and you want to give pretzels, and you want to give, right? So that all works. So the same thing should be here, right? So the Tosfos says, yeah, that's true when everybody's giving the food, and they say, I'm giving you this food to be part of the eruv. But in this case, the food is all being combined, not for an eruv. It's there for investment, right? The food is there for the investment, not for the eruv. We're just saying that the eruv can piggyback on the investment, right? Meaning when everybody's giving towards the eruv with the intention of it being an eruv, so everybody give whatever food they want, but not when the food is all mixed together for an investment, and we're just saying that the eruv piggybacks on it. Okay.
It was totally on the food as opposed to the actual partnership.
What do you mean?
Meaning it's not totally on the people themselves saying that they'll be in partnership. It's totally on the food itself.
Well, yeah, but they also have to be partners. They also have to be in a partnership.
Then why does it matter what the food is?
Right. What? No. What do you mean? Why does it matter?
Meaning, why does it matter if it's oil? Why does it matter if it's wine?
Because it's two separate things. Because they don't mix.
Well, you have to decide: is it the partnership itself, or is it the fact that it's on food, that it's the same food?
No, it's that it would be different foods, so therefore it would be different kalim, so therefore you wouldn't be able to use it as an eruv.
So it's not totally on the fact that they're actual partners in business.
Right. And economic. Well, it's a double layer thing, but yeah.
Is it partners
we'll
in business?
See. What?
Is it partners in business? I took it as they share it, and so they did 1 barrel of wine, 1 barrel of oil, whatever, as a shared thing, and that also made the eruv. No.
Oh, I don't know. I thought it was business, but I'm not so sure it makes a difference either way. Okay, let's see.
Wouldn't it make a difference because we also have the concept if you have a guy in the chatzer, right?
Right.
And you could rent that space. You lend him a rake or something, and he keeps it in his garage. Then you've made it. What do you call it? Then you've made him a kosher part of your eruv chatzeros.
Right.
So why wouldn't this be the same thing? That if you have a shared thing that you're both keeping on one or both of your properties, why wouldn't it be the same thing right off the bat? You already have some type of agreement together.
Right. So that's right. That is exactly the case.
But it's saying here. I mean, before Rabbi Shimon, they're saying you would need to join into it, but Rabbi Shimon says you don't have to.
You don't need to, right? So we'll get it a little clearer between Amud Aleph and Amud Beis. We'll get it a little clearer, hopefully. So the Gemara will go through the Machlokes on Amud Beis more than now. So let's see. So Shimon they don't need eruv. Even if one is wine and one is oil, how can you call that, right? How can you call a partnership with one with oil and one with wine one big partnership? So Hamar Rabbah, this brings back something from way back. It's talking about a yard that's in between two mavuos, right? For Reb Shimon Latamei, and Reb Shimon's going according to something that he said before. The Tanan, Amar Reb Shimon Lamad, what's this case similar to? The Shalosh chatzeros Apsuchu Zulazu Psuchu Shusharam. You have 3 yards that are open to each other, and they're also open to reshus haram. The 2 outer guys made eruv with the middle guy. He mutaras iman. Then she, meaning the middle one, is mutter with them. Ve'ein mutaras ima, and they're mutter to carry into the middle. V'shtayim achitzonis asura zumzu. The 2 outside ones are asur. with each other. Again, remember, this is the case what I used in the mushal with my house, my mother's house, and the neighbor in the middle. So let's say the neighbor in the middle made an eruv with me, I made an eruv with my mother, right? But me and my mother did not make an eruv with each other. So therefore, we can both, since we both made eruv with the guy in the middle, so we can both carry to the middle guy, but we can't carry to each other. So that's what he's saying is the same thing here. The middle guy made an eruv with one of the outer guys with oil, and with the other outer guy with wine, right? So that works for each other, but the two outer guys can't. That's exactly what our Mishnah means. There we said the two outer guys are asur. Here Rav Shimon said they don't need to make an eruv at all. So what do you mean? If you don't need to make an eruv at all, that means that it does work. So Gemara answers, what does it mean that they don't need to make an eruv? That's where the two neighbors don't have to make it with the balabais, meaning me and my mother's house would not have to make the eruv with the guy in between us. But the two outer guys, meaning me and my mother, that we would for sure have to make an eruv, because we have no shaykhs to each other, because one was with oil, one was with wine. Fine. So that's one way of explaining shot. Rav Yosef has a different shot. Amar Rab Shimon. Rav Yosef says Rab Shimon Rabbana bepluged Rab Yochanan ben Nuri Rabbana kamivligi. The Machlokes in Rab Shimon and Rabbanan is the same Machlokes as Rab Yochanan ben Nuri and Rabbanan. The Tanan shemen shetzaf al gabi yayin. If you have oil that's floating on top of wine, right? V'noga tful yayin b'shemen, right? So we know that when a tful yayin touches something, he's tamei. Right. So the question is, do we look at the shemen, the oil that's on top of the wine? As we know, oil floats to the top, right? So do we look at the oil that's floating on top of the wine as two different foods or one mixture, right? So the Gemara says, the shemen shetzaf al gabi yayin v'noga tful yayin b'shemen. It's only going to make the shemen puzzle. Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, no, they're both considered connected. So Rabbanon k'Rabbanon, the Rabbanon hold like the Rabbanon. Rab Shimon holds like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, right? So Rabbanon hold like the Rabbanon, that they're two separate things. So therefore you can't make an eruv because the wine and the oil don't mix. And Reb Shimon holds like Rabbi Yochanan ben Nuri, who says, no, we look at it as one big food, so therefore it does mix, and it's considered one big partnership, and everybody's happy, and you don't need to make an additional eruv. Fine. Tanya, now we have another shita. Tanya, Rabbi Elazar Mitadai Omer, Echad Zev Echad Zeh Tzrichin La'arev. Both of them need to make an eruv, meaning whether it's wine with wine or wine with oil, everybody's got to make an eruv. Afilu Lezeh B'yayin V'Lezeh B'yayin. So Gemara asks, even if each one does it with wine, so this one comes with his how do you say the legina, his jug, and he pours it. And this one comes and he pours it with the wine. Everybody holds it, that's an eruv. When they're having a machlokes, that's where you took a barrel of wine b'shutvis with partnership, meaning they actually, meaning when each partner comes and pours wine into a jug, everybody agrees that that's clearly a partnership, even though that went to be a partnership for business or whatever assignment, whether it's business or to share, but that's called a partnership. But where they went and purchased a barrel together, that's where they have a machlokes. Rabbi Elazar to savar ain't breira. He holds there's no such thing, we don't have breira. So therefore, when you buy a barrel, how do you know whose wine belongs to who, that they're all combining? So therefore, it doesn't work. For Rabbanan Sabri, yesh breira, and the Rabbanan hold, no, we do have breira.
I'm not copying the chilek. In the first case, when you pour it in, once it's in the barrel, it ain't breira.
No.
How do you know what's? I know from the beginning.
Don't have to know.
When you started your shutufs together. So then, why does it matter if you hold ain't breira? You don't know who's who at that point either.
No, but it was individually.
The shutufs.
Maybe right now I can't tell, but the bottom line is that it was for each one.
Okay, in both cases we know there's shutvin. Who cares? I'm saying if you want to say you have to know which one owned what, in both cases you don't know which one owned what.
No, but in both
cases there's shutvis.
No, when they bought the barrel, it was never clear who owned what. So you never had any idea. When each one poured in, you did.
Who cares? At the end of the day, we're looking at the eruv now. Do we know whose eruv is what? Who cares originally? Is it a question of whether there's shutfas or not? In both cases, there's shutfas.
Yeah, but at least one you knew it was defined at one point. And here,
but we're worried about the eruv now. We're not worried about how the shutfas started. We're worried about, do we know who owns what?
No, we're not. We need to know it definitively that each one gave something into this eruv.
When they bought it together, they definitively became shutfas.
No, they didn't. There was never anything that definitively belonged to anybody.
And we don't consider both of them to have bought into an eruv?
No.
Why not?
What?
Why not?
Because they had a shutfus with money, right? And then they bought a barrel of wine. So it was never defined who had wine and giving it in. That's basically what it is. Okay, but it's getting late, so let's finish it off. Let's try and finish the daf, right? Okay, Rabbi Yosef Amar Rabbi Lazar at the Daiva Rabbanan b'saimchen al shituf b'makom eruv kamifligi. We're gonna get into this more in the next daf, but are we saimech on a shituf b'makom eruv? Meaning, there's two steps, right? You have a bunch of people in a yard, so they all have to give in the bread that's called eruvei chatzeros. Then they have a bunch of yards that open up to a street. If everybody wants to carry in the street, all those individual yards have to now go make a second eruv with the street, right? Now, what happens if they do the second part, right, and not the first part? Meaning they all combine to be able to carry in the street, but they did not combine to carry in the chatzeros. So does that work or not? So Rabbi Yosef saying that's the Machlokes. Their disagreement is, can you rely on the shituf of the mavui instead of an eruv? The marsavar ain't saimchen. One holds you are not saimech on it, right? Meaning Rabbi Lazar the Dai holds you can't be saimech on it, right? Marsavar saimchen, and the Rabbanon would hold that you are saimech on it. Yeah. So let's see. So Amar Rav Yosef Minami. How do I know this? Amar Rav Yudah Amar Rav Halacha Rameir. Rav Yudah says in the name of Rav, the halacha is like Rameir, which we'll see soon what Rameir holds, right? That you can't. Rameir is saying that you can't use a shtufei mavuos instead of eruv chatzeros. Amar Rav Bruna Amar Rav Halacha Rav Elazar ben Tadai. The halacha is like Rav Elazar ben Tadai that you can't make an eruv with wine. My time, meaning why is he saying halacha is like Rameir and he's also saying halacha is like Rabbi Lazar ben Tadai? Why do you need both for? So isn't it because it's one reason? My time, must be saying the exact same thing. So I'm really biased. So if they're saying the same thing, then what he needs? If they're saying the same thing, why do you need to say halacha is like it twice? So our answers are it's teaching us that you don't do like two chumras in eruvin, right? Like we've been discussing. We always like to do lakula in eruvin, right? So you can't do two chumras. So therefore, it's a little bit complicated, this teretz. So therefore what he's saying is that we don't want to just say two chumras. So first you have to say that the halach is that you can't use wine. Once you can't use wine to make it eruvei chatzeros, then you are stuck. Then, meaning that's what you hold, having nothing to do with two chumras. Then you cannot say that. Then you have the ability to say that a shtufei mavuos can take the place of eruvei chatzeros. Right? That's essentially what it's saying. Meaning you need to say the halacha is like both of them. Otherwise, you're gonna just if the halacha is like both of them, so then you're entitled to say the chumras of both. But if the halacha is not like both of them, then your stam just decided to be machmer like two things, and that we're not going to do by eruvin. Okay, my Rameir, my Rabbanon. What is the Machlokes Rameir Rabbanon? The Tanya ma'arvin b'chatzeros b'pas. Eruvei chatzeros is done with bread. If you want to do the eruv with wine, you're not allowed to. Now the reason for this is you have to use bread because bread is what we live with, right? So since bread is what we live with, and eruvei chatzeros, you're trying to say that everybody's living together, So you need bread. Wine doesn't work because you don't live with wine. At least most of us don't live with wine. Yeah, mishtatun b'mavui b'yayin, but a mavui works with wine. If you want to do it with pas, you are allowed to. And you need to do an eruv chatzeros and a mavui. Why? So you shouldn't forget, like we said a few times, if you're only going to make them do the mavui and not the eruv, then kids are going to forget that there's such a thing as making an eruv. They're going to say our fathers didn't make an eruv. So therefore, you cannot, according to Rameir, you cannot be saimech on combining the mavui, meaning combining the street, in place of the chatzeros. I'm Arvin, I'm Mishtat. And the say, no, you can do one or the other. Right? You can do one, you can either do eruv chatzeros, right? Or you could do shtufei mavuos. Now this only works, making eruvei chatzeros. That's only if how do you say it? When the properties all open up to each other. If they only open up to the mavuos, and obviously making eruvei chatzeros amongst each other is not good. Meaning they have to have openings to the street and also openings to each other. If they don't have openings to each other, then how can an eruvei chatzeros work for a shtufei mavuos? Okay, we'll continue this. We'll continue this tomorrow, Beis Hashem. All right. Have a good night, everybody. All right. Yeah.
Tiago,
What's the story with
I think
Shachris tomorrow, Tiago? What do we got?
What's the story with Shachris? Any customers for an 8 o'clock Shachris?
I may be 3. I don't have an answer yet. I'll know soon. I may be 3, not 2.
If we could find a vendor for
7:45.
Zoom, I could make it work.
I could do 7:45.
7:45. I could do 7:45 too, but
Jesse,
don't show up there.
Jesse, there was an article just published by a conservative rabbi who said that the viral services that they have on Zoom are not comparable to in-person services.
Are we even getting shut down by the conservative movement now? Oh man!
Saying.
Guys, did you see that reform haftarah done for the judge that passed away? Did you see that?
I don't see any of this stuff. I'm sorry to say.
They basically reform.
Naftali, I was gonna send it to you. I was gonna send it to you, but there's Kalisha.
There's Kalisha. But basically, there's the Reform rabbi. I found that it's Reform because Reform believes that they can change what's written in the Torah for their modern approaches. So basically, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died right before Rosh Hashanah. So instead of the regular Haftorah, they said the brachos of Haftorah, but then they made a Haftorah up about her life, and they lamed it in Shrup.
No. Naftali, they read her court decisions.
Whatever, in Shrup. And then they said the brachos afterwards.
Is that like
Haftarah? That's a long Haftarah.
Is that the same as drinking bourbon that's Chumash Shavuot Pesach? Is that the same thing?
I don't know. Put another shirt on.
Naftali, you're not 100% right. They left a link for the regular Haftarah as well.
Oh, okay.
You forgot about that.
This is on Zoom on Rosh Hashanah.
This is on Zoom. So in case you want to hear the regular one, they left a link for that as well. They didn't want people to miss out.
Okay, I had a friend of mine who got married to a girl, a reconstructionist, and they go to the shul and they call up a girl for an aliyah, and she takes out of her pocket a poem. She makes the brachas, reads the poem, and then makes the brachas after. She wasn't interested in the Torah part. She read her poem. That was her aliyah.
By the way, on the reform one, credit to the Fruma Island.
She's a connection, you know.
Yeah.
Credit
What
to
are
the
you saying?
Fruma Island on the reform one. Within a half an hour of them posting the video, they disabled comments on YouTube.
I just don't know where is their basis from. Where do they get this in
who cares, man? Who cares?
By the way, if you look, I think it's Reish Samach Tes is the brother sister Ger Shiloh's.
Reish Samach Tes?
Yeah, I think Reish Samach Tes.
This last Gemara that we just had today with the wine and the oil.
All right, so I think you can stop recording.
Yeah.
By the way, I was going to tell her Byron Horowitz that today the Supreme Court ruled that you can't. It's not so push it to just walk onto somebody's property. Samuel Stobes is still on, but
He's on.
Vermont,
I'm on.
a guy was hunting, and they thought they had a suspicion that he hunted at night. So they went onto his property. They looked through his window in his garage. They thought they saw deer here on the back of his truck. So then they got a warrant, and the Vermont Supreme Court upheld it. They said it was valid, and now the Supreme Court said, "What are you talking about? You can't just walk onto people's property." So maybe Stobes, that's what he was talking about. You can't.
I
just
hear
go
you.
and
I
take
guess the
somebody's-
Gemara knew that the Vermont Supreme Court was incorrect, and the U.S. Supreme Court was correct. You know what? I didn't.
You're
I
not
was
allowed
going
to
based
just
on the
walk in and
Vermont- I
take
hear you.
somebody's thing. You
I
can't.
was just going at that point. I was holding by the Vermont Supreme Court.
And
I
this
hear.
was Paskin after the Yid died.
Right, and that's why Ruth Bader Ginsburg got her own haftarah.
Oh boy.
Love it.
The Gemara that we had today with the wine and the oil.
Are you trying to get us back on track, Uri? Is that what you're trying to do? All right.
Yeah, that's annoying. Okay, I'm leaving.
Yeah,
It's 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock now, Sully. It's 8 o'clock.
He's already locked in the basement.
The how come
Under the bridge, please.
how come it's not? How come it doesn't go to the shiloh that we had yet? No, the idea yesterday that we had with, if somebody forgot to make an eruv, he could just go to one of the people that are involved in the eruv. Meaning, yesterday we said that if, let's say, there are two people that have an eruv and one person wasn't involved in it, right? So he can go and he could join the eruv if he goes to one person, right? Or it's Machlokes if he has to go to both, or if he has to go to one, right? So if one guy has an eruv with the guy that he has a shituf and wine, right? And so let the guy with the oil just come to one of the two people with the wine and make an eruv with them.
Oh, you're right. I think 100%. You could do that. But that would get rid of a whole Amud of Gemara.
I was going to say, so why are we getting this whole convoluted thing? We just
You're right. You're right. That would all you're right. The previous Gemara before the Mishna also says, well, why can't you be mevatel? It's when I said, yeah, we're talking about that. You could be mevatel, but this is pre-mevatel, pre-bitul.
So
no,
what's this
I think.
What? So what's this pre what? Pre-oil sales? Like what is it?
It's, what do you mean? It's.
I mean, how do you even have the case?
Oh, I see you're saying something says difference, meaning here it's l'chatchila. So we're trying to see maybe they don't have to make an eruv at all. Right. See, I hear your point.
The whole concept of the eruv as opposed to having to make
Correct.
an eruv and how do you
Correct.
make it?
Yeah.
How does the Gemara paskin halacha based off of brisos that they change?
I was trying to ask that with my cynical way. That's sort of what I was saying, Simon.
I got you, but I couldn't reach the space bar fast enough. But we literally paskin a ton of halachas in this way, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. Don't they have to establish facts and then and then go forward?
Well, the way I always look at that is that the Gemara is a conversation, right?
Are you Tzvi Yaakov Stein?
No. You're right. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No.
I'm joking.
No, it's okay. You're right. I shouldn't be answering.
No, rather you should be answering.
No,
of course you should be answering. Go ahead.
I don't want to be chayiv misa like that other Gemara that we learned.
Don't worry
about to say
you
that's
ain't
a different
chayiv
block.
misa answering in front of me. Let me tell you. You ain't chayiv misa. If anything, you're bailing me out from saying something stupid. All right.
Well, so I'll say something stupid.
Okay.
So I'll go first.
Well, I got a longer beard, so I'm going to be punished more.
Fair enough. So the way I always think of it is that Gemara is always is a conversation at the end of the day, right? Social about pet, right? They're discussing how they're remembering, the Masorah, right? From one generation to the next. So they're all sitting there trying to remember how they heard over pshat from the Rebbe, right? So they're all sitting there saying, oh, I heard it like this. No, you heard it wrong. You heard it like this. This is what he really said, right? Like anytime we kibitz around, we have conversations like, oh, the guy said this. No, he didn't say it like this. This is what he said, right? So then finally they come to an agreement that, okay, this is what the brisa is,
That's not what but that's not what it sounds like. First and foremost, it wasn't like one guy versus one guy. It was a whole consensus of people that said it, and then they came to a consensus.
Correct.
That's
how because finally they said you remembered correctly and we're wrong.
But my other issue is I think the Mishnayos were written down by that point. That prior to the Gemara, the Mishnayos were written down. That means the brisos were written down too.
But Mishnayos were written down. Mishnayos were written down. Firstly, probably I would imagine before the Brises, because the Brises were written down in the Gemara, not necessarily by themselves. Or maybe they were written down later.
Gemara was written much later.
I know. So I'm saying, okay, so maybe the Brises were written also at a later time than the Mishnayos. But Mishnayos were written also
Brises are just Mishnayos that were not included in the canonization of.
Okay, so but Mishnayos were written cryptically and also without a full, meaning it was everything. That's why the Rambam writes in a cryptic manner. He doesn't write everything in a long hand. He writes everything as short as possible because Torah Shabbat Peh, there's an issur to write down. That's in general. That's like the whole concept of Torah Shabbat Peh, is that you're not supposed to write it down. And if you have to write it down, you write it down in shorthand as much as possible. So things are going to be missing.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I mamish don't have shot with this. When the Brises do this and say, I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know why the Gemara sometimes chooses to say this and not, and change it, not change it. Here the Gemara clearly that means not to change it. Even though here it seems like there's a good reason that the Gemara changes it. It says, well, it doesn't say that because the Gemara really had a more pashat kasha there that the Gemara chose not to ask. It just went took that avenue as opposed to the other kasha. So, yeah, whatever. Since it's only a few, you guys here, I'm going to tell you right before the daf.
Turn the recording off.
The recording's off?
No.
Oh, man.